Which October 7th are you referring to? Are you referring to October 7th of 1953, as Israel was prepping an attack on the Qibya village that massacred hundreds of Palestinians? Are you referring to October 7th of 1956, a month before the Khan Yunis massacre, killing and displacing hundreds more Palestinians?
My grandparents settled in Deir al-Balah, Gaza, the same city that's currently being ravaged by Israeli forces 76 years later. It's the same city where their progeny live in tents. It's the same city where their 2 grandchildren were killed by a targeted Israeli missile a couple months ago.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to the Struggle Video News. Whenever anyone notes the vast number of Palestinian women and children killed in Gaza, Zionist spokesmen and apologists have a ready answer. Hamas is using them as human shields. No evidence proving the charge is produced, just an angry denunciation. Compare that to this incident, not in Gaza, but in the West Bank. Defense of Children International reports Israeli forces used 3 Palestinian boys, Karam, 13, Mohammed, 12, and Ibrahim, 14, as human shields during an Israeli military incursion into Tulkarm refugee camp last week. In 2 cases, Israeli forces fired guns positioned on the boys' shoulders. Genocide Joe, I'm waiting for your comment. The New York Times notes that UNRWA had to close its Jerusalem headquarters because of fires and attacks. Filmmaker Julia Bacha explains. Jewish Israelis set the UNRWA headquarters in Jerusalem on fire, but there will be no criminal investigation because it was done by minors. In the meantime, hundreds of Palestinian children are prosecuted in Israeli military courts every year. That's called apartheid. And here, 5 months after Israel made its latest charges against UNRWA, Israel has produced no evidence either of large-scale Hamas infiltration of UNRWA or anything specific against the 12 people UNRWA fired when Israel made its first charges in January. But the demonization of UNRWA by Netanyahu Biden continues.
זה אוכל של ילדים מסכנים. הלב כואב. תראו את הילדים. מה זה מנה חמה? זה לא בריא. איך הם יהיו מחבים טובים אחרי זה? טוב חזק.
Tuesday, May 21st in Danbury, our sponsor, the Middle East Crisis Committee, gives out its Courage Award for 2024. This time not to a person, but to the entire body of Palestinian journalists who have worked magnificently at a fearful cost. Over 140 dead and many family members killed as deliberate collateral damage. 4 impressive speakers live by Zoom, Palestinian journalist Fatin Elwan. In person, Professor Mara Horowitz, Pastor Anthony Bennett, and Professor Jacqueline Guzda. That's 6 p.m. in the Danbury Library, 170 Main Street, Tuesday, May 21st. 76 years after the Nakba, the Arab word for catastrophe, There was a rally in front of the Capitol building in Hartford, Connecticut. The Nakba actually began in December of 1947, but May 1548 is generally the day it is memorialized. We brought signs protesting the near $1 million of public employee pension money being invested in Elbit, Israel's biggest weapons producer, along with $94 million other dollars in Israeli investments.
Nakba Day, the most important day of the year for our resilience, our activism, our support. Today is a day that marks 76 years. 76 years since the forced displacement, torture, and murder of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. As commemorated here by the 76 Palestinian flags that we've planted in the ground for this building to see. The Nakba, the catastrophe, what marks our tortured past. Yet the common misconception is that the Nakba ended in 1948.
No! Yeah.
This couldn't be farther from the truth. No, the Nakba is still going on. It didn't start nor end in 1948. We've endured 76 years of genocide, occupation, ethnic cleansing, all culminating to why we are standing here right now, right here. The 45,000 innocent Palestinian civilians who have been murdered in the past 7 months. The 15,000 children who have been taken too soon. The 10,000 women who have been slaughtered. The 2 million who have been displaced. The hospitals, the homes, the schools, the safe zones bombed to pieces. And the endless torture that ensues.
Disgusting.
But you know what else today marks? It marks 76 years of resilience. It marks 76 years of resistance. An acknowledgement that no matter what happens, we will return to our land. Yet it's these people right here, this building, that want to quell our activism. And when you show these people everything, you show them the stories, you show them the videos, you show them the facts, you show them the massacres, and all they can spit back at your face is October 7th, I want you to tell them this. Please ask them this one question for me. Which October 7th are you referring to? Are you referring to October 7th of 1953, as Israel was prepping an attack on the Nakba village that massacred hundreds of Palestinians? Are you referring to October 7th of 1956? A month before the Khan Yunis massacre, killing and displacing hundreds more Palestinians? Are you referring to October 7th of 1982, next to the Sabra and Shatila massacre that murdered thousands of innocent Palestinian Lebanese civilians? Or are you referring to October 7th of 1948, the Nakba, the Deir Yassin massacre, when an entire village was slaughtered? Name me a year and I'll tell you the massacre that the Israeli government carried out on our people. Or when they refer to the hostages, are they referring to the 100 Israeli hostages? Or the 10,000 Palestinian hostages, majority children, who have been held, detained for years on end? And when they talk about terrorists, I know you're talking about the real terrorists, the Israeli government. None of this can be analyzed on its own. Not October, not May. In the past 10 days, where 450,000 Palestinians have been displaced from Rafah. Not even the past 76 years. No, the U.S. has been plotting on the erasure of Palestine since the 1920s. The U.S. never tells us these stories though. They don't teach us this in our history classes. Our history has constantly been erased and mistold by the colonizers, to the point where we can't even raise a flag in this building, yet they welcome the raising of a flag that stands for terrorism and genocide and slaughter. Which is why it is so important right now to be strong and fight back for what's right. When you see opposition, when you see neutrality, I don't want you to shun them. I don't want you to shun them. I want you to inform them. I don't want you to educate them. Because we cannot blame them for the way they think. No, we can blame the media. We can blame this country. We can blame this building. But we cannot blame them. And it is never too late to turn to the side of right. So please, find your voice and use it, because the entire world is behind you right now. We haven't got our turn. We haven't got our fair shake. We haven't got our time. And right now, this moment, this is our time. And it's now time to reclaim what's rightly ours. Our land, our freedoms, our rights, our people. And we will do that. We will do that. We will return. We will plant our olive trees on the outskirts of Jabalia. We will be able to visit Masjid al-Aqsa, the Church of Nativity, the Temple Mount. We will all enjoy Kanafa in the streets of Nablus, the cable cars and the deserts of Jericho, the old city in Jerusalem. We will illuminate the injustice in this world, and we will get everybody behind us, because we will free Palestine, and we will return. 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 Hartford, you will learn.
Hartford, you will learn.
To our land we will return.
To our land we will return.
Hartford, you will learn.
Hartford, you will learn.
To our land we will return.
To our land we will return.
Connecticut, you will learn.
Connecticut, you will learn.
Palestinians will return.
Palestinians will return.
Connecticut, you will learn.
Connecticut, you will learn.
Palestinians will return.
Palestinians will return.
So next speaker for the day will be Faisal Saleh, the director of the Palestine Museum, might I add, the only Palestine museum in the entire country. Please give it up for Faisal.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Faisal Saleh, the founder and executive director of the Palestine Museum US. Our mission is to tell the Palestinian story to a global audience through the arts. Early this morning, I received an email from TRT from a journalist who wanted to interview me on a subject that I thought was quite unusual. They wanted to get my opinion on a portrait that was recently revealed in Buckingham Palace of the new King Charles. I said, are you sure you're talking to a Palestinian on May 15th to talk about a portrait for a king in England? They said yes. So the interview went on, and the painter who painted the picture had made it all red. And they were telling me that the social media was buzzing about this. Everybody thinks it's about bloodshed and the blood of the Gaza children on the portrait, and it looked like he was in hell burning. I said, you took the words out of my mouth. You took the thunder out of my presentation. I rest my case. So I thought, well, while we're at it, let me point something out. You know, that British Empire, Great Britain, whatever you want to call it, on May 15th of 1948, they walked out of Palestine, and they left the Palestinians to fend for themselves. They left us to the Zionist wolves. Prior to May 15th, and starting about December of 1947, the Zionist forces in Palestine had made a plan called Plan D, or Dalit in Hebrew, and that plan called for the extermination and the expulsion of Palestinians from all of Palestine. And they began executing that plan in December of 1947, and they went according to their plan, strategically, village by village, by town. They employed 3 different methods for expulsion. One method was massacres, and throughout that whole campaign, they held 36 massacres, and they killed thousands of Palestinians. And the purpose of the massacres was, besides just eliminating Palestinians, but to create terror and to terrorize the population in leaving, to force parents to grab their children and run to save them. That was the biggest terrorism that happened in that century in terms of scaring everybody by killing them, killing people in front of them. They had cars with loudspeakers in Jaffa saying, "Remember Deir Yassin, get out with the British." And this was documented by a film where the British officer who was in Jaffa himself was quoted as he himself heard those cars saying, "Remember Deir Yassin, get out with the British." Anyway, so that campaign continued, and eventually by January of 1949, the Zionist forces had depopulated, bulldozed 500 Palestinian villages. On May 15th, 1948, 200 villages were already depopulated and destroyed, and that's the date the British left. So under the nose of the British forces, 200 villages were destroyed by Zionists as the British soldiers watched as Palestinians were being killed and massacred. And they did not lift a finger to help the Palestinians and to discharge their duties and fiduciary responsibility under the mandate contract that they had with the League of Nations from 1919. At any rate, today we commemorate the crimes that were committed against Palestinians by the Zionists, by the British, and all those who supported them. And today we add to that the crimes that are being committed in Gaza, the genocide and the enablers of the genocide. It's not just Israel that's conducting the genocide. It's all the Western countries that are enabling the genocide by providing Israel with weapons. It's the United States, it's Britain, it's Italy, it's Germany, it's France, it's Holland, and a few other countries that we can't, I don't remember right now to mention. But these countries are the enablers of the genocide. They're the ones that are making this possible. Without them and without their active involvement, they may not have been a genocide. So we stand here and we want to put those countries on notice that they are responsible and they are liable, and they could be liable for prosecution under international law and under the Genocide Convention. Everybody that approved a bill in Congress and signed for it, providing Israel with weapons and arms and bombs, is also liable for prosecution under that convention. Anybody who had the ability to prevent it, who did not try to prevent it, is also liable. And that's not just international law, it's the law of the United States as well, because the US is a signatory to the Genocide Convention. They signed it and ratified it in 1987. Anyway, just wanted to let you know that I'm actually a Palestinian. I'm from a refugee family that was in a village called Salaman, 5 kilometers east of Jaffa, and our village was run over on April 25th, 1948. Jaffa was run over the next day on April 26th. Our village had 6 defenders. They were all killed at the end after they ran out of whatever few little ammunitions they had with old rusty rifles. And that's all I need to say. Free Palestine.
Our next speaker is a Ghazawi, Jenna, or former recent graduate of UConn.
Today I'm going to share the story of Sawafir al-Shamaliya, a village that once thrived just 21 miles northeast of Gaza. In this village, 800 Palestinians lived, cultivating and sustaining themselves off the land. They grew citrus fruits, grains, bananas, and apricots. Sawafir al-Shamaliya had its own mosque and shared a school with the surrounding villages. The houses were crafted from mud brick that sheltered generations of families. They sat on rich archaeological ruins of the Ottoman Empire, marble and capitals of ancient columns. The villagers would walk to neighboring towns such as السوافير الشرقية, الغربية, المجدل, بيت دراس, and Tell Turmos. There was a bus station in the village that saw a bus stop there only once a day. When it arrived, children would run out of their schools, staring in amazement at the bus. Cars and buses were a rare sight, except when the British troops drove by at times of war. On newly built infrastructure, signs of the colony that would soon come after. On May 12th of 1948, a young couple and their 2 children were ethnically cleansed from their homes among the rest of the Sawafid. The residents of Sawafid slept in the fields for the next 2 weeks. When they were displaced by surrounding towns, they bought seeds and gardening tools to go back and replant, thinking they were going to return one day. The young couple were my grandparents, Fatima and Muhammad. They carried their 2 small children on their backs as they made the 21-mile trek towards Gaza. 700,000 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed, and some, like my grandparents, built a home out of mud, where they would slowly build up as they watched the settler colonial state of Israel grow. 11 years later, in that same hut, my dad was born. Happy birthday, Baba. We can talk about the pain that came from the Nakba, the lost livelihoods, lost children, global displacement, generational trauma, generational poverty. Those who survived the Nakba see it reoccurring in their very eyes right now. My grandparents settled in Deir al-Balah, Gaza, the same city that's currently being ravaged by Israeli forces 76 years later. It's the same city where their progeny live in tents. It's the same city where their 2 grandchildren were killed by a targeted Israeli missile a couple months ago. We are the children of this incessant Nakba. We carry on their yearning for liberation and justice the way they did, because we will never forget that day. Not if they silence us, fire us from our jobs, arrest us like they did to me, or if they try to kill us. We will never forget Yom Nakba. May God have mercy on our martyrs. May He allow us to repopulate and grow a liberated, happy, liberated Palestine, and may He continue this community of support to flourish. Thank you.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
From the sea to the river!
From the sea to the river!
Palestine will live forever!
Palestine will live forever!
So free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Our next speaker will be Yazid, our Palestinian brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The number 76 holds a lot of meaning to me. My grandfather is 76 years old. He was born in 1948, 2 months before the Nakba happened. My great-grandmother and great-grandfather left Al-Ramle with nothing but my grandfather on their back. They escaped to Jordan. They left family members behind. Some of them died. Some of them just got stuck. And we don't even know what happened to them today. I want to tell my grandfather happy birthday, but we don't even know when his birthday is. His birth certificate is torn up. There isn't even a certificate that he ever existed. And then they mean to tell us that 1948 was their first Independence Day. Yesterday, in this capital, Israel celebrated their Independence Day. Shame on them. They raised the Israeli Israeli flag up there celebrating a genocide and celebrating an extermination of a people. They celebrated my grandfather's birthday because we don't know when his birthday is. It's sometime in 1948. That's when he was born. So it really is a shame. And it's a shame that for 76 years, they continue to make the same claim, that Palestine is their land, that they only act in self-defense. Well, their self-defense has caused the death of 17,000 children. They must have been really strong children. Shame on them. Their self-defense has caused the death of upwards to 23,000 civilians besides children. And not even 1% of them were actual fighters. None of them even knew how to hold guns. How can they continue for these past 76 years to keep up this sham that Palestine is their land? When I searched up Ramle on my phone 30 minutes before the protest, I was just trying to make sure I had the spelling right in English. It didn't say Ramle Palestine, it said Ramle Israel. How dare they take my family's homeland and rename it to their benefit? How dare they think that just because they were able to win in a military exploit, that they have a right to a land that is...
It has been confirmed now that Syrian American Dr. Majd Kamalmaz died in Syria. He's been missing since 2017. Nakba Day was May 15th. That date was also a terrible day in Jewish history. In Hungary, on May 15, 1944, the Nazis deported the first 12,000 Jews straight to Auschwitz. The deportations continued every day for 2 months. In the end, 500,000 Jews were slaughtered. And the leading Hungarian Zionist later was found by an Israeli judge to have made a deal with the Nazis that amounted to collaboration. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for the Struggle Video News.